Welcome. This is Astrology Insight Now, a weekly forecast program with astrology and other ways to help you make the most of your week and to heighten confidence for daily life. It's run by Pamela Cuccinell, that's me, the astrologer, and I invite you to find out more about my work at insightoasis.com. I look forward to your joining us every week. Please share with your friends, and here we go. So, January 20th, 2025 is a very interesting day. I'm writing about it on my blog, Spot on Astrology, so you can read more about the inauguration horoscope there. But the reason I find it such an interesting day, just to talk an aspect to the week rollout, is that it's not an easy day. And it's not easy because the moon is in the sign of Libra, which ordinarily we think, okay, Libra moon, they want to make nice, they want to have conversations, they want to tease out information, understand one another, and ideally this is how it's utilized. However, as the moon is traveling through the sky, it's hitting some conflicts. So it hits conflicts with communication, which actually is quite highlighted right before the inauguration is supposed to happen. So I'm wondering, are there going to be communication problems like with how things are televised or how things work out? And not just to focus on the United States at all, but this could be communication blips that may occur with many of us depending on what we're trying to do or make happen. So if you want to bypass that bump, then you might want to look past noon. However, I can't say then we're free and clear from other things that can come up, because one of the things that's really highlighted on this day is there's an opposition in the sky between the moon and Chiron. Now, Chiron is, it's a bridge energy that's in between Saturn and Uranus in our solar system. It's known as a centaur right now, is what astronomers call it. It's a combination of an asteroid or a comet or something. But what it means symbolically, more importantly, is it's about the wounded healer energy. It's about how Chiron was the teacher of, he was a great healer. He was half man, half goat, or half horse, depending on what scheme of mythology you're reading. But his purpose as he evolved from anger and wound, being rejected by his mother and basically being half godlike creature, because again, another progeny of Saturn and a poor nymph that he was having his way with and turned into a horse. Anyway, so Chiron was who would teach about healing methods, wisdom. He was known for his wisdom and knowledge that was far and beyond most other sources. So godlings and other students would work with Chiron. And he's known as the wounded healer because he was wounded, but he couldn't heal himself because he actually was wounded after tussling with Hercules, who was another student of his, and Hercules had the spear that was dipped by the Hydra, and the Hydra, being a poisonous monster, once it pierced Chiron, Chiron couldn't die, being basically part God, but he was in continual pain. So when someone has Chiron strong in their horoscope, as actually it is in the inaugural chart for the United States in 2025, then what we need to do is learn how to heal from the wound and what wisdom comes from the wound. If we just focus on the wound, then we're just raging in pain all the time. So it's very interesting that this is part of the inaugural chart of this particular presidency. This also happens on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is an honoring for a man who was of peace, who spoke about bridging and how to do civil disobedience as a way to bring more rights to people. And there's a lot of strife, actually, on this particular day because of the position of Mars and how it's retrograde in the sign of Cancer, and its final aspect to the moon will be a square to it. So this shows that people are going to be unsettled, angry, aggressive. Not necessarily everyone at all, but people who are not being conscious of what their grievance is or what bothers them can feel a real sense of, well, even rage. So the thing that's important on this day is to remember how to tamp things down. If you find yourself encountering anger within yourself or someone else, then move into a sense of not necessarily detachment, but to a place where you want to understand where it's coming from. And this can be done because Venus is in the sign of Pisces now, and it's conjunct Saturn. So this shows a lot of the coolness of the day, which actually, again, with the inauguration is supposed to be very physically cold. But there's a sense of distance, not getting enough, not getting perhaps what we want. And instead of getting stuck in that, think about how you can work with it. Now, just to use examples, there will be people who want to honor and appreciate Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and they aren't even going to spend much time or energy thinking about what's going on with the inauguration. But there can be a low-grade disappointment or anger or sadness, or maybe some people even feel euphoria that this is coming through, this particular new presidency. But there will be strife. I mean, there will be a discomfort because there is not going to be a lot of harmonious agreement on this particular day. Then perhaps these are people who are very excited about the inauguration. Maybe they're not happy that they're not able to physically see it because of the cold and it being very quadrant off. Wherever the anger or unrest is coming from, people in different countries, all sorts of things that can come up at this point in time. And I do think things will. I'm talking specifically about the United States, but of course this is much bigger than the United States. So overall, this day is going to feel unsettled. There will be a sense of wanting to restrict, wanting to confine, and on the other hand, wanting to express grievance or dissatisfaction, frustration, very, very strong on this day. So if you're doing something that you want to make it happen, achieve, remember we're in the waning moon cycle. Mars is retrograde. Jupiter is retrograde, which again speaks about delays, maybe not enough money, not enough hope, not enough realization of goals. And so we want to compartmentalize whatever's coming up for us and think more in terms of, okay, what can I do? What can I do to, in a rational mind, moon in Libra, a rational mind, think in what makes sense to create a bit of peace for me and people around me today. And I want to be assertive about it. I want to do it in a way that is strong because I don't want to be pulled into an undertow. And then talking about undertow, the moon goes void of course at 11:34 p.m. on Monday, and the times I give are Eastern time, if I didn't say that already. And then on the 21st, really important. In the morning, we have the Pluto-Sun conjunction, which again is going to be part of what colors the United States presidency for this term. And what that means is that there's a really strong, powerful mandate that some of us are going to be feeling, a sense of, I've got to do this, I've got to make it happen. The other thing is the moon is void of course while this is occurring. So if you feel a very strong impulse to do something, to say something, to just change directions or sheer force of will make something occur, keep in mind that it may not pan out as you intend because there's no emotional glue to hold it together. Far better to jot down the thought or harness it in some way where you think, I am going to address this later. If you feel something's coming at you, a very strong opinion or decree or something that's just been delivered to you, sit on it because you don't have all the information right now. This is very strong shadow energy, which I've written about, and you want. I'm happy to send you a link if you don't already have it. Just shoot me an email. But you'll find it on the Spot On Astrology blog. But pretty much what it's saying is we have to look at when we're being confronted with such force of righteousness. And that can be coming up from within us or being directed to us. But it's important to get through the sense of this is how it must be, because that may well be true, but we all need the information we need in order to make decisions that allow us to move ahead with wherever we want to evolve to. So, yeah, we'll probably see a lot of information that's coming out thick and furious on the morning of the 21st, and even in the night before. But once the moon enters Scorpio at 11:20 a.m., now I find this very intriguing because once the moon enters Scorpio, what's happening is that Scorpio moon wants to cut through and understand whatever's like slinging out or coming out. And so research, information, going deeper, all of this is going to help us understand where we're at. So the afternoon, evening of the 21st, all of the 22nd, and into the 23rd, until the moon goes void, of course, at 7:03 p.m., but especially juicy and rich mid-afternoon that day is giving us like a onslaught of information that we can really work and move with. So for anyone who may feel as though they're disenfranchised or immobile or not really knowing how to proceed, look for, when we get into that really rich energy of, not everybody loves the sign of Scorpio, but the moon in Scorpio over these couple of days is really allowing the ability to transcend and move up with whatever may have been holding some of us down. Tremendously creative. Also on the 23rd, this is a terrific time for a sense of feeling renewed. Excellent. These are excellent days for if you need any kind of therapeutic work, whether psychological, emotional, physical, really, really good for moving that. Mars is retrograde, so deep work, absolutely. Not necessarily things that are going to go in there, cut you open, and manipulate you. I mean, that would be, you'd want to talk to someone about medical astrology if you're thinking in terms of anything surgical. But it does have a metaphorical precision to it, especially for plumbing depths and going into things that you really want to figure out. So I see these days as helping really open up a lot of insight, a lot of new understanding for conversations that we've been wanting to have. And remember, there's been this extreme polarization that is not going to serve us, because the way that we grow, develop, understand, transcend, and evolve is by integrating ideas, working through what feels like things we can't understand or reach. And yeah, if we close doors, they are closed. We cannot move through them, understand, get more dimensional, transcend, evolve. We can't do any of that. So the opportunity that is being presented to us over these days is to go deeper, work harder. I mean, this is the beauty of when Mars is retrograde, which personally, in total candor, I do not love when Mars is retrograde. Those of us who have strong Aries or Scorpio or strong Mars, when it's retrograde, unless we're born with Mars retrograde, it's not comfortable, because we're used to diving in and doing what we want to do, taking it apart, going where we want to go with it. We're not used to having a sense of feeling thwarted. And so the retrograde Mars, when the moon is in Scorpio and it's well aspected, which it is over these couple of days, it enhances that Mars in Scorpio. I mean, Mars retrograde, because Scorpio it's that deep level of Mars energy. It just goes in there. Aries Mars is like, let's burn across and run. But Scorpio Mars is, there is nowhere it won't go, and unrelentingly explore. So that combination with a spiritual mandate over these couple of days, very, very rich. So even if you're not usually a person who thinks of yourself as artistic or creative, invite in some play. I mean, have a dialogue with an idea or a part of yourself you want to more dimensionally understand. Record it, write it, paint it, do things that bring in a sense of renewal, a sense of expectation. Remember, Scorpio is the sign that has to do with the phoenix rising from the ashes, among other things. It's all the signs have a lot of dimensionality to them. But we are on this precipice of moving into true acceleration and evolution. And that certainly can mean certain things have to go. I mean, it absolutely means that. So it may be, well, what has to go? What is feeling like it's holding me back or holding me down? And this may have been revealed to you early in the week, this sense of feeling burdened or anger or old grievances. And what happens midweek is, well, how do we lift out of the ashes? How do we transcend this sense of being lost or bereft? Because as long as we're still here, the opportunity and invitation is available to us. We are choosing all the time what doors we're closing, how we're limiting ourselves. And what I see happening when I look at these days is, how do we open doors? How do we look at things that we don't really want to look at? But when we look at them, we understand better. And we have the opportunity to know what we're dealing with instead of just saying, can't do it, I'm done. You're not done. You're so not done. And so these are days to invite in that sense of, how do I spread my wings? Where am I going? And do I have some wind that may be starting to help my flight? And you do. So the moon goes void, of course, at 7:03 p.m., and it enters Sagittarius at 11:29 p.m. Now this is the 23rd January, these times I'm speaking about. Once it enters Sagittarius, some of us may feel even more excitement, because Sag is a fire sign, it's mutable, and for people who have a lot of air and fire, there can be a sense of, okay, now I'm ready. Boy, that was a big few days. But the thing is that if you want to start moving quickly, and as I said, it's highly possible many of us will on Friday the 24th, it's far better if you've made plans. If you made plans midweek when we had all that nice, juicy focus energy, so that you know what direction you really want to go over these few days of the weekend, Friday. Because a lot of choices can come in, especially on Friday. And it's like, well, I could do this, or that can happen, or maybe this is the best way to do it. or that's a good opportunity, let me go there. And what's more effective is if we're doing things that are in alignment with what it is we wanted to finish up, make happen, put into place. Again, last week of the waning moon cycle, we've got the new moon happening next week. So how do you utilize the energy you might be feeling to really make some things happen? And, it may be that you're just planning to have a nice, relaxing, or really fun weekend, and that's okay too. The part that is to be mentioned is that you want to make sure your signals are clear, that you understand, who expects you to be there when, and how you're going to get from A to B, because the thrust of moving forward or being captivated by certain ideas or things can at times have us miss things that we really need to keep in mind if we're going to be able to keep that momentum or be able to make things happen in the way that we had wanted them to happen. So I guess the best advice for the next couple of days is just keep alert, especially if you're on a downhill skiing weekend or something like that. And it's not because I think people are accident prone, but there is that point which sometimes I certainly talk about, but I do think that there can be I was supposed to go down that way and I went down this way and now I'm meandering way too far and it's cold. So you are better served by not getting too in outer space over the next couple of days. It is far better to have a good sense of hopefulness, expectation, and what it is you want to aim for, while also thinking in terms of strategy and, okay, did I bring my lunch money, essentially, because you don't want to run out of gas when you're on the road. And overall, I think that it can be a good weekend. It can be a fun weekend, but it's a really nice weekend when we're paying attention and also to what other people need and want to express. So the moon goes void, of course, at 4:40 a.m. on Sunday the 26th. It enters Capricorn at 8:43 a.m. And this is the time for those of us who need to get stuff done before the week unfolds, this is the day to do it. Because on this day, we can be focused, we can make things happen, we can feel very much in flow with what it is we want to pull off and achieve. I mean, whether it's laundry, cleaning the house, or doing the outline for a project, whatever it is, it's a really focused day. Or if you are doing the downhill skiing, it's a really good day for being very in your body and having a fabulous one. You have been listening to Astrology Insight Now. Please share with your friends, and if you'd like to make a donation, you can do so at astrologyinsightnow.com. Have a stellar week, and we hope to see you next time.